Welcome back. It's coffee time. Yes, I am this excited with good reason. We're talking about coffee, and coffee is undoubtedly one of the world's most loved beverages. I'm going to say one of our most valuable resources. Many of us can't start our day without it or continue our day without it. But have you ever wondered who was the first person to ever enjoy a warm cup of coffee? Whoever that was, thank you. Well, here to tell us the fascinating history of coffee is Sascia Lovell, the shopper, marketing and sales strategy manager for one of our favorites, JACOBS South Africa.
Good morning, Graham. Good morning, viewers.
You've dethroned me. I thought I was the most coffee-focused person in the world, and I take a lot of flack for it on set because I just love my coffee. But I think you might love your coffee a little bit more.
Yes, I do.
I love it. So let's talk about the origin, because it's something that is so much a part of our lives. I don't think many of us stop to think about where this first began. Take us back to the beginning, or at least what we know about the origins of coffee.
Yes, so as legend has it, coffee was actually first discovered by an Ethiopian goat farmer in the 9th century.
An Ethiopian?
Yes.
Yeehaw! Thank
Upon
you.
eating the beans, these goats just became so energetic that they couldn't sleep at night.
Oh my
But it was only really cultivated at first in the 15th century in Yemen. And then by the 17th century, it's actually made its way across Europe and replaced the common breakfast beverage of the time, hear me out, wine and beer. Okay.
Oh, I know a lot of people are going like, listen, I've had a lot of breakfasts up north in the UK. I can understand that. I can get it.
And they formed these schools of the wise, these coffee houses, because they said that wine and beer dulls the mind and coffee makes you think.
For
straight.
sure.
So yeah, and then, I mean, by now coffee is available over the world. And did you know that every single day about 2.25 billion cups of coffee are consumed?
I can get that. That actually, I would think
Every
that's
day.
a low estimate. And we've seen certain, and I would imagine that landscape is changing, but certain countries seem to have a knack for it. We seem to associate coffees with a lot of South American countries. I want to think Brazil, I want to think Costa Rica, places like that, but right across the Latin Americas, we know amazing coffees. Who makes the best coffee?
Well,
is that a rude question to ask?
I don't know about the best, but definitely Brazil is the biggest coffee producing country there is. They account for about 35% of the world's production.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, followed by Vietnam, actually, and then after that's Colombia. But I mean, there's many other countries all growing on the coffee belt, and you'll hear all these names when you look at the single origins coffee.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, Brazil's the biggest, and I mean, it's subject to so many fluctuations, you know, weather patterns, drought, frost, all these things impact the coffee production. And coffee is actually the second largest traded commodity after petroleum.
I can really understand that, because
Yeah.
it's a common thread across all kind of socio-economic brackets. It kind of speaks to everybody, the lived human experience. And I love the fact Brazil, because they've got now a very green and natural thrust there in terms of what they're doing with their landscape, I can imagine that's only going to boom further. I love the fact also, when you talk about single origin, that we're getting into the journey of each farm, the nuances of each little piece of terrain. I love that. It's such a nuanced process. Is making coffee simple?
Oh,
Take
no.
us from
Not at
bean
all.
to here. What does that look like, that journey?
It's a lengthy process, let me tell you, and it's a very intricate process. I mean,
I took a sip just for that.
from having the seed, right, you then plant the seed. That seed has to germinate.
Okay.
Then that has to go into a nursery until you get a plant, and then it has to go into a coffee plantation. It takes 4 to 6 years for that plantation to yield its first fruit. So the coffee bean is actually in a berry or a cherry on the tree. Then you have to wait till it's ripe, then you can pick the cherries. Then you can either wash them in the cherry, there's 2 types of washing, or you will first pulp them out of the cherry and then wash them, one of the 2 types. Then you have to dry them. Then you have to sort the good ones from the bad ones. Then you have to pack them. Then you have to transport them. And then you still only have green coffee beans, which is of no use. It's only when you roast them that the flavor comes out, and you get different types of roasting. And then you grind them, and then only you've got ground coffee. And then to get to instant coffee is still a further process after that. So it really is a lengthy process and very intricate.
Very nuanced, and we love the nuance because that speaks to the flavor and the quality of the coffee that we get, and a range of accessibility to high-end coffees as well. And I think that's where JACOBS has found the balance. There is something in the process, when you think about how long this is, to maintain the integrity and the quality and the flavor requires very decisive action at a particular point, I would imagine.
Yes, 100%.
The freeze drying and the fact that you are able to boast that this is 100% coffee in a granular form is amazing to me, because that kind of is the longest production process.
Yes.
How are you able to retain that level of purity and quality through that process?
So all coffee is not equal,
Exactly.
definitely not. And yes, our coffee, 100% coming from coffee beans, so no chicory roots in our coffee. And freeze drying really is a 3-step process where the liquidized coffee gets frozen in a freezer at -40 degrees,
Sure.
okay? Then goes into an oven and the steam gets evaporated, which means that that flavor and aroma is locked. It's frozen into
It's
each
like a
granule.
little time capsule. I love
Yes,
that.
and then as you add the hot water, the aromas and the rich flavors is released, where the process of spray drying doesn't quite lock the flavor in as good
sure.
as freeze drying. So it really gives you a more quality, higher premium cup of coffee.
I suppose the one is kind of reverse engineered to get you to the same kind of physical end result. The other is all about the integrity of the quality and the flavor.
Yes, 100%.
I never thought that I'd get goosebumps sitting talking about freeze-dried coffee, but it's amazing to me.
Yes.
It's kind of alchemy, what you're able to achieve. And on behalf of all of the farmers and those producing this amazing coffee, thank you for maintaining that integrity. Oh, stick around, Saskia. If you haven't filled up your coffee yet, then what are you waiting for? Saskia is going to be back to chat all about coffee occasions and how we can change up our coffee game to suit every mood, every occasion, and yes, every coffee drinker.
Making a cappuccino with thick creamy froth is now impressively easy.